Last night I attended a forum as one of the 6 candidates in the Vasse By-Election. It was in Dunsborough at the country club, Dunsborough Country Club. Thank you to Mr. Binks for organising the forum. I love attending forums as a political candidate. I love speaking publicly and talking with voters and listening to voters and citizens. And it's really unfortunate what happened last night was the Liberal Party tried to have me locked up last night at the end of the hearing, at the end of the forum. Ben Morton was there, and they had some other Liberal Party members, men, and one man was there texting on his phone. I was asked where I was staying, and I wasn't going to tell them that, and because I don't trust them, Liberal politicians or Labor politicians. I don't trust the Greens, and I don't trust the Nationals either, because I believe that corruption's been building up since the Second World War, and there's lots of evidence for that. Anyway, they tried to get me locked up, and a police officer showed up towards the end. He just had a jumper over his shirt, and the badge was missing, but he excuse me, he definitely looked like a police officer. And it was done by the Liberal Party. They're violent and they're malicious. They've killed thousands of Australians in Western Australia, thousands, the Liberal politicians and Labor politicians, over the years, and also across the nation. It's in the tens of thousands, the deaths, and we voters have to get rid of them. Now, it's all politically motivated. They've wasted literally millions of dollars of public money trying to destroy my life, and they know I've got an appeal in the Supreme Court 12th of November 2014, 10:30, Justice Lemire, and I'll be telling the Supreme Court judges exactly all the violence I've been subjected to by political and government men over the last more than 12 months, and all the dirty, violent tactics they've used coming to my home, intimidating me at political elections, etc. It results from a very evil, violent, corrupt, malicious magistrate, Stephen Malley. I don't have a problem saying that publicly. He should be removed from his position in the Fremantle Magistrates Court. I've got the transcripts here from the Magistrates Court 3 hearings to prove what I'm saying is true, which I'll be going through with the Supreme Court judge on the 12th of November. And I filed an appeal. I filed an appeal against the state on the 31st of July 2014 as a seal of the Supreme Court against Stephen Malley's decisions in the lower court, primary court in Fremantle, his decisions from the 17th of December 2013, the 13th and 14th of February 2014, and his decision from the 8th of August 2014. That was filed 8 days before the 8th of August hearing, and it was accepted by the Supreme Court. The other party, not lawyers and government people, Michael Mission, all them, and the Sheriff's Office people and the police, they know all this. And what Malley did, Stephen Malley, as proven in the transcript, Magistrates Court transcript 8th of August, is he acknowledged that he knew that I had filed this appeal in the Supreme Court, and I notified the lower court in writing twice with correspondence from the Supreme Court to prove I'd filed it 8 days prior. So on that 8th, he also acknowledged in the transcript, this is Stephen Malley, he's an absolute monster. He is sadistic and violent, and sadistically did this to me maliciously, and he should be sacked. And he says on page 7 of that transcript, is there anything else on file? Sergeant, I'm just looking at the file received yesterday, a letter the court received yesterday from me. Given I've successfully filed a Supreme Court appeal, at the very least adjourn these proceedings pending the conduct of my appeal. And a couple of times the government's prosecutor in these hearings actually suggested that it be adjourned. But no, he just sadistically wanted me to be locked up, Stephen Malley. That's the same magistrate who put Russell O'Callaghan, Carl O'Callaghan's son, on home detention for after he violently threatened to kill a woman and deprived her of her liberty for 2 days. complete violence, threatening to violently kill her, and he gives him home detention. The son of the police commissioner, he's not fit to be in that position. The Bible says if you can't manage your own household, you're not fit to be a leader. And it's one rule for them and it's one rule for us. They do operate like Nazis, the politicians, and they've got the magistrate's court in their pocket, just like a rubber stamp. The Supreme Court judges, a lot of them are corrupt as well. Michael Mission tried to destroy my rights in the Supreme Court before the state election, which I contested as an independent, over political signage. Wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax money again. Tried to destroy my rights in the Supreme Court over political signage, but he failed. I won that. And he also, exactly the same time, the head of the Supreme Court, Wayne Martin, and a second judge, Kenneth Martin, gave the Liberal Party political signage rights against two councils, Armidale and Gosnells. Just like that, on the spot. That was the day before Christmas, and the second injunction was in the middle of January. But they made me wait for 8 months. The Attorney General, Liberal politician Michael Mission, intervened, tried to destroy my rights, and he lost. And now he's trying to destroy my rights again, trying to have me locked up. He wrote me a letter. I didn't write to him. I wrote to Colin Barnett threatening to sue the government, which I will do. I filed an action in the High Court and the District and the Supreme Court, but I have to change the writ because those corrupt judges block it. It's all political government men. They have no respect for women. If you're a political woman, I contest political elections, they just they throw millions of dollars at you trying to destroy you. That's what they did to Julia Gillard. The reason why they destroyed her is because she's a woman. The reason why they destroyed Pauline Hanson is because she's a woman. And the reason why they're trying to destroy my political pursuit is because I'm a woman. And for the last 2,000 years, political men throughout the world, their number one achievement, their greatest achievement throughout history for 2,000 years, if we look at since the time of Christ, their greatest political achievement is the destruction of women. Their second greatest political achievement throughout history is the killing of human beings. And their third greatest achievement throughout history is economic corruption. Most men are not morally fit to be politicians anymore, and not work in the police either, because there's hundreds of accounts throughout Australian history where policemen have raped Australian women and children, and it happens in other countries throughout the world. I get women contacting me telling me this. You know, Bill Shorten, he is a rapist. I believe the victim that he was raped by her. The police didn't help her, and they should not be allowed to work in the government anymore. And also this Stephen Malley, they just work as a rubber stamp to destroy the rights, freedoms and interests of the voters and citizens in our nation. We have to fight, all voters have to fight to get rid of these politicians. We have to get rid of all of them. They kill people in the thousands. And if you look at the deaths in government facilities over the last 50 years, the death figures in the thousands in WA. Across the nation, it's in the tens of thousands. Every time an Australian citizen dies in a government facility, whether it's in a hospital as a result of an unnatural death, particularly if the person's a little bit younger, which happens, if it's in a psychiatric facility, that's in the thousands over the past 50 to 100 years. And also in prisons. Also, when Australian citizens die in the community as a direct result of government action, it's political and government murder. And they've been getting away with murder for years. That's why they destroy people like me, who I speak publicly about everything, fight injustice on behalf of the people, and fight their violent corruption. If I had to use a number of adjectives to describe the current politicians in our parliament, I would have to say that they are violent and they are corrupt. Just to give you an idea, a few things I told the Supreme Court. I note in the 17th of December 2014 transcripts, Magistrate Stephen Malley acknowledged my written submissions had been filed. A small book is what's quoted in the transcript. However, as a miscarriage of justice gave no concern for my views articulated in my 3 written submissions filed at that stage, including the blacked out search warrant, having no judicial names, no basis in WA or Australian law, and the violent police assault against me at the front of my home. This is the Nazi search warrant they came. They're using these across the state because the CCC report that I filed reports that I filed and the response I got prove that they've been doing this across the state for quite a few years. Now, there's no law in WA and Australia that allows this, and on the basis of this Nazi unlawful document, they come to my home and assault me at the front of my home, stole my research equipment, and they've threatened and intimidated me, harassed me. Probably 20 to 30 police officers over the past 12 months have come to my home. I've had to sell my house to get out of the area, and they threw me in jail one night already, and trying to jail me again. This magistrate he should be sacked. It's so violent what they've done to me. It is really Nazism. Also, the malicious nature of Malley. This will be something to look forward to, Sergeant. That's what he said in one of his transcripts. Also, the prosecutor proposed an adjournment, but Malley refused. I note in the 14th of February 2014 transcript, after I was unlawfully jailed for one night on the 13th of February 2014, that I referred in detail to my written submissions, 5 now filed in total. That's the lower court. The many reasons why I refused to appear, the police assault and other injustices against me and the police prosecutors, quote, if there is a reason that she can state, then I don't oppose it. But at the moment there has been nothing said. As evidence that citizens have no rights in the lower courts, the police violently assaulting a citizen with a blacked out search warrant is of no concern to both the magistrate and police in what originates as an economic dispute with the state, marked up 560%. Because I refuse to give money to the government. I don't want to give money to them because of their violence and corruption and the destruction of my family's rights and my life. It's about my refusal to give them money, simple as that, and it originated from parking fees. It could have been anything, taxation, it could have been parking fees, it doesn't matter what it's for. I will not give them money until we get rid of these evil, violent, corrupt politicians who are murderers, thieves and liars, rapists, pedophiles, until we get rid of them. That's a fair position for me to take, objecting to the political made law, my political and economic views. We live in a democracy. One of the pillars of democracy is the freedom to dissent. The historical pillars of democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and the freedom to dissent, disagree with the government. I didn't vote for any of those people. I vote for myself and for other candidates over the years. And when politicians make laws, violent laws, destructive laws to destroy the rights, freedoms and interests of its citizens, we should object. We should fight it. We should say, no, we're not going to accept this because it's oppressive and violent. And they use violence in the most horrific ways. The way they use the police, these politicians, it's Nazism. They lock people up and they can do all sorts of things to them. If they get me locked up, they could arrange for me to be raped. They could arrange for me to be drugged by force, which they do with psychiatry. The politicians use that to drug, torture and kill. And, you know, people die in government facilities. It's nothing to them. It's absolutely nothing to them. Also, 18,000 people, Australians, West Australians, the Liberal politicians jailed between 2008-2013, 18,000 of the poorest people in our state for government-imposed economic fees and fines. This woman died, Miss Dew, in the Port Hedland, South Hedland lockup, and Michael Mission's on the radio, making all sorts of excuses, talking about money and the law and fines, but the woman has died. She's dead. It's political government murder, and his response to that is it's unfortunate. It's not unfortunate. Your political made law killed that woman and all the other thousands of Australians who die in government facilities over the years and in the community through homelessness and government-driven suicide and all the different facilities in the prisons, in the psych facilities and in the hospitals of unnatural causes. You're killing these people. And you say it's unfortunate. You should be locked up forever with all your psychs and all your corrupt police, and have you drugged and given ECT and psychosurgery and the public drug you by force to prove that what you're doing is violent and dangerous and evil and destructive, and it is Nazism. It's what the Nazis did during the Second World War, and the politicians use the sheriff's office to steal. They use the police to steal, to make money. The nice way of referring to that is to raise revenue. You use the police to make money off the public that is violent and destructive, and that is the sort of thing that Nazis did. Colin Barnett is the worst economist that I have ever objectively analysed. He is the worst economist. His economic ideology is stealing. He uses the police to do it by violence, and he uses the sheriff's office, where they can take seizure of property without a court hearing, the government. At least they make the corporate sector go through the Supreme Court. The government uses the sheriff's office, come on your property, clamp your car. No paperwork provided. That's what the Nazis did. I wasn't even at my home. And they marked it up 560%. Stealing, using violence, and no paperwork provided. Try to seize your property, steal off you through when the sale of my house goes through. They're going to steal over $10,000 more as well, if they can. And no court hearing, no paperwork provided. Everything they have done to me is totally illegal. I can assure the voters and citizens of Australia, everything they've done to me is completely illegal. And I'm at the mercy of a Supreme Court judge to agree with me. But I've got submissions to file. I've got a large submission to file and associated documents. I've got another submission to file, 2 submissions, and a big thick wad of documents, about 97 pages. Also, what I told the court briefly, furthermore, their malicious pursuit of me to further economic cost, burden and deprivation of liberty I consider to be violent and destructive to my life, and a complete waste of millions of dollars of public money, as well as the obvious massive human rights abuses to over 18,000 West Australians jailed between 2008 and 2013 for government-imposed economic fees and fines, including resulting deaths. I consider it all to be violent and destructive to my life and other Australian-born lives, which I mainly blame corrupt politicians. This was published June 14, 2013, the figures by the West Australian, which is a conservative newspaper, and when they engage government critique of politicians, they're fairly accurate because of their conservative nature of their reporting. Australian Bureau of Statistics, suicide remains the leading cause of death for all Australians between 15 and 34 years of age. The past 4 decades, the leading cause of death in Australia is suicide, and will always remain that way as long as those corrupt politicians stay in our parliaments. Who's at fault for that? It's the politicians are completely guilty for all of those deaths, all the homelessness, all the deaths in the facilities. They're guilty. I filed other documents. I filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court. I also filed a application for an urgent appeal order, and here's the I think I showed you the page where it's been set for the 12th of November, but they're wasting millions of dollars hunting me down in political forums. I slipped away last night's forum. Letter from Michael Mission dated the 26th of August. Very malicious. I didn't write to him. I wrote to Colin Barnett. He wrote to me. He just did it to rub it in. He did it to me to try to intimidate me and threaten me further. He's a monster, absolute monster. So I slipped away last night before the end of the hearing, 15 minutes, so that was pretty clever. And unfortunately that means I'm not able to attend the Thursday night forum, political forum for the Vasse By-Election held in Busselton. It's been conducted by the Bunbury ABC. I'm going to have to contact them and apologise for not attending. Not because I don't want to attend. I'm sorry to the voters of Vasse. I love going to political forums, speaking publicly and speaking with the media. I love the time that I've spent with journalists, talking with them about various issues on the phone and in person, and talking with voters in the community at forums. I love that sort of thing. I think it's great. And yet what the government's doing to me is stopping me from even going to a public forum to speak publicly. You know, I have to not turn up because, well, I can't risk being deprived of my liberty. I have to protect my own freedom my own safety and well-being. Because if they get me locked up, they can do anything to me. I could be tortured, I could be raped. You know, it's very scary. It's Nazism. Australia's governed like a Nazi country, with the power that the federal politicians, the state politicians and the local councils have over the people. There's no rights. And the result is massive amounts of deprivation of liberty of poor people, or people for very minor reasons, and a lot of death in our nation. So I apologise to the voters of Vasse. I would love to be there, and the organisers of the event on Thursday in Busselton. Probably won't even be able to go to the polling booths on Saturday because they probably have government, you know, men driving around the electorate trying to find me. It's so violent and malicious, and a gratuitous waste of millions of dollars of public money. And you know, the God Almighty of heaven and earth that I serve, Jesus Christ of the New Testament, is watching everything you're doing to me. So all you're doing is digging a very big hole for yourselves, which you'll never crawl out of, the political and government men involved. And he's up there saying, what are you doing to my servant, Teresa van Lieshout? She's just trying to help the people, the public. So if you've got any element of wisdom or morality, even a small sample of it, my advice to you, if you've got any the political government men involved, if you've got any sample of wisdom or morality, do what I said you should have done from the very beginning, and that is to leave me alone. To leave me alone. Because every time you do something to me, you're digging a bigger hole for yourself, which you'll never crawl out of. You should just walk away from this, because you're going to be condemned for it. You know, you can try and lock me up and torture me, or whatever, steal from me, assault me. I still haven't got my research equipment back. It's over a year. It should be returned. You should just walk away from it, because you're only hurting yourselves in the end of the day. Plus you're wasting a lot of money, public money, and you should just say no to the Nazism. No, we're not going to hurt her. We're not going to hurt Teresa any further. And maybe then I can show up to the Thursday night forum and say what I need to say, and be with the people and the public and speak with them and listen to them like I want to do. But I can't trust you. I can't, you know, I want to be there, but I can't risk my safety, well-being and freedom until the 12th of November, when I show up to the Supreme Court. My appeal, and I told the judge in my appeal entry, I've also got a medical report here from a doctor proving that what the government's done to me is causing a lot of stress. I told the Supreme Court judges in my entry for appeal, that I don't want the courtroom to be full of government men and those men to be there, because it's intimidating. It's further intimidating, and the violence is intimidating. And I've told him that, and so if you show up, I'm going to ask him to get you to leave the room, the courtroom, make you leave the courtroom. Because I've had enough of your intimidation and your violence against me, and it should be between me and the lawyers. I won last time over political signage in the Supreme Court. I'm going to win this. I've got 2 massive submissions to file and a big thick list of documents, 97 pages. And I'm going to win it. Nobody can beat me in a legal argument in this country yet. So you should just walk away and stop it. I don't think I should ever forgive you, the political government men involved. It's been really traumatic and violent and scary. It's Nazism. But you just don't care. The Liberal Party member last night, he was sitting there texting and sitting right next to Ben Morton. There was a few other men there. You know, the state director of the Liberal Party there with his Liberal men, getting the police there. These are Nazis. You can't beat me on an intellectual level, so you use violence. Your solution is just to use violence to lock everyone up who doesn't agree with you. You should walk away. You're going to burn in hell. I don't think I should ever forgive you, and I don't think I will. Just walk away from it. Thanks.